Vishnu Baba Mahamsa sorry, Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnu Baba Mahamsa Parivata, Satyachi Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. All glories to simple devotees. All glories to simple devotees. Hey Rishi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. I didn't hear during the kirtan, but I can hear you now that you're
Hear me
speaking.
now? Okay, I think it was muted. Okay. All right. If I need let me know if it's like too low. I can try to get a microphone or something.
No, it sounds good.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We're reading from Canto 3, Chapter 16. It's actually text 24. Let's hope it's don't worry about it. All right, word for word. Tat
Tat
te
te
anabhishtam
anabhishtam
iva
iva
satvanidhi
tatvanidhi
viditsoho
viditsoho
kshemam
hemam
janaya
vinaya
nija shaktibihi
shaktibihi
urita
urita
arihi
harihi
na
na
Etavata
Idavata
Tri Adipati
Sri Adhipati
Bata
Pata
Vishvabartu
Vishwabhatu
Tejaha
Tejaha
Shatam
Shatam
Tu
Tu
Avanatasya
Avanatasya
Saha
Shaha
Te
Te
Vinodaha.
Vinodaha.
If you want, you can. I have my other phone. You can take notes. Like you can go to database and stuff. But I was using this one. You sure? All right. Probably gonna mess this up. Tattena bishtamiva sattvanit nidir viditso. Shemam janaya idashakti urit urit tarihi. Naitavatri Adipatir Bhatta Vishvabartus Tejakshatam Tvavana Tashyasa Te Vinodaha
Tejakshatam Tvavanantasya Sati Vinodaha.
Tatena Bishtam Iva Sattvanide Viditsoho
Tattena Bhishtamiva Satvanidhir Viditsoho.
Shemam Janaya Nijashakti Bir Uritarihi Naitavatari Adipatir Bhatta Vishvabartus
Naitavata Triadhipatir Bata Vishwabhatus.
Tejakshatam Tvavanatasya Sate Vinoda
Tejakshatam Tvavanantasya Sati Vinodaha.
Tatena Bishtam Iva Sattvanide Viditsoho Shemam Janaya Nijashakti Bir Uritari Rehe
Imam Janaya Nijashakti Virudhritare.
Naitavatari Adipatir Bhatta Vishvabartu Tejak Shatam Tvava Natasya Sate Vinodaha
Tejakshatam Tavanantasya Sate Vinodaha. Tattena Bhishtamiva Satvanidhir Vidhitsoho.
Tatena Bishtam Iva Sattvanide Viditsoho
Imam Janaya Nijashakti Virudhritarehe.
Shemam Janaya Nijashakti Beudare
Naitavata Triadhipatir Pata Vishwabhatus.
Naitavatari Adipatir Bhatta Vishvabartus
Tejakshatam Tavanantasya Sate Vinodaha.
Tejakshatam Tvanavartasya Sate Vinodaha Tatena
Tatena
Bishtam
Bhishtamiva Satvanidhir Viditsoho.
Shemam
Imam
Janaya
Janaya Nijashakti Virudhritarehe.
Naitaiva
Avata Triadhipatir Pata Vishwabhatus.
Tejakshatam
Tejakshatam Tvavanatasya Sate
Tvavanatasya
Vinodaha.
Vinodaha Cut
That
that destruction of the path of righteous auspiciousness.
that destruction of the path of auspiciousness.
Te
Te
by you.
by you.
Anabishtam
Anabhishtam
is not like.
is not like
Eva
Eva
as
as
Satvani Satvanidihi,
Sattvanidhehe.
the reservoir of all goodness.
The reservoir of all goodness.
Viditso,
Viditsoho,
desiring to do.
desiring to do.
Shemam,
Shemam,
good.
good.
Janaya,
Janaya,
for the people in general.
for the people in general.
Nija Shakti Bihi,
Nija Shakti Bihi,
by your own potencies.
by your own potency.
Udrit, Udrita,
Udrita,
destroyed.
destroyed.
Arehe,
Arehe,
the opposite element.
the opposite element.
Na,
No,
not.
no.
Etavata,
Etavata,
by this.
by this.
Tri Adipate,
Triyadhipatehe,
of the proprietor of the three kinds of creations.
of the proprietor of the three kinds of creations.
Bata,
Pata,
O Lord.
O Lord.
Vishvabhartuhu,
Vishwabhartuhu,
the maintainer of the universe.
the maintainer of the universe.
Tejaha,
Tejaha,
potency.
potency.
Shatam,
Shatam,
reduce.
reduce.
Tu, but.
But.
Avanatasya,
Avanatasya,
submissive.
submissive.
Saha,
Saha,
that.
that.
Te,
Te,
your.
your.
Vinodaha,
Vinodaha,
pleasure.
pleasure.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Ki Jai.
Right.
Dear Lord, you never want the auspicious path to be destroyed, for you are the reservoir of all goodness. Just to benefit people in general, you destroy the evil element by your mighty potency. You are the proprietor of the three creations and the maintainer of the entire universe. Therefore, your potency is not reduced by your submissive behavior. Rather, by submission, you exhibit your transcendental pastimes. Purport: Lord Krishna was never reduced in his position by becoming a cowherd boy or by offering respect to Sudama Brahmana or his other devotees like Narada, Nanda Maharaj, Vasudev, Maharaj Yudhishthir, and the Pandavas' mother, Kunti. Everyone knew that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, yet his behavior was exemplary. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Sakshidananda Vigraha. Brahmacharita 5.1. His form is completely spiritual, full of bliss and knowledge, and is eternal. Because the living entities are his parts and parcels, originally they also belong to the same quality of eternal form as the Lord, but when they come in contact with Maya, the material potency, due to their forgetfulness, their existential constitution is covered. We should try to understand the appearance of Lord Krishna in the spirit, as the Kumaras pray to him. He's eternally a cowherd boy at Vrindavan. He's eternally the leader of the battle of Kurukshetra, and he's eternally the opulent prince of Dwarka and the lover of the damsels of Vrindavan. All his appearances are meaningful because they show his real characteristics to the conditioned souls who have forgotten the relationship with the Supreme Lord. He does everything for their benefit. The force exhibited in the battle of Kurukshetra by the desire of Krishna and through the agency of Arjuna was also necessary because when people become too irreligious, force is required. Non-violence in this respect is rascaldom. Om Jnana Gananjana Salagaya Shakshu Unritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanyamaro Vishnu Stapitam Yena Bhutale Payamupa Mayam Dadadi Swapadantikam Pandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapatakam Shri Guru Vaisnam Shah Shri Rupam Saganatam Saharaganatam Sambudivam Rajetam Savadutam Bhajana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vishwamsha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Chikapate Kopisha Kopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosite Tapikanta Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavan Vishwavin Krishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpadu Vaita Dipatindi Navivita Patitanam Parimbayo Vaishnavi Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Badaya Krishna Badaya Bhutale Srimate Pati Vikasa Swami Vinamale Guru Jai Didikaso Bhakti Purva Vivinja Namo Vishnu Badaya Krishna Badaya Bhutale Srimate Pati Vedanta Swami Nitinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vichayane Nirvite Sunyavari Pasha Tajarane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namaha Punyaya Lokaya Vishwani Vasite Kavitaya Nivitaya Putideva all right, the translation one more time. Dear Lord, you never want the auspicious path to be destroyed, for you are the reservoir of all goodness. Just to benefit people in general, you destroy the evil element by your mighty potency. You are the proprietor of the three creations and maintainer of the entire universe. Therefore, your potency is not reduced by your submissive behavior, rather by submission you exhibit your transcendental pastimes. This is the prayers offered to the Supreme Lord by the four Kumaras. And one question can be raised, how is it that impersonalists, formal impersonalists, are able to offer such beautiful prayers to the Lord? So just as Ramananda Roy, Lord Chaitanya was asking Ramananda Roy the highest benefit that a human can attain to, and it's mentioned how Lord Chaitanya was actually speaking to Ramananda Roy. Although Ramananda Roy was Krishna's devotee, he took the role of instructing Krishna. However, it was actually Krishna speaking to Ramananda Roy. So it's very interesting how Krishna would speak through personalities to himself. So just like in this example, Krishna is giving the four Kumaras this intelligence about himself, and they're glorifying him through the intelligence that he's giving them. Pretty interesting how Krishna will give us the necessary knowledge to glorify him. Because Krishna, even though he can't understand himself, the jiva is being forgetful, as is mentioned in this purport today. We forget Krishna's eternal nature. Forgetting Krishna's eternal nature, we actually have no ability to properly glorify him. So we can only actually glorify Krishna through the mercy of Krishna. It's pretty interesting. The Hare Krishna mantra is a glorification of the Lord, but that's been descended through the spiritual world, and it was given to, by Lord Chaitanya to Srila Prabhupada, and now to the whole world. So we glorify the Lord by the mercy of the Lord. And the first, in this translation, the very first sentence says, you never want the auspicious path to be destroyed. So it is interesting how Krishna, once you're on the path of perfection, he will maintain your endeavor. Krishna will assure success for the devotee who is surrendered and submissive to his will. Because he never wants the auspicious path to be destroyed, which is why he advanced himself millennium and millennium to protect the auspicious path, to protect the righteous devotees. Krishna is still Bhagavan Swayam, and it's mentioned that Krishna comes to destroy the enemies of Indra. He protects those who are surrendered to him. And there's a very nice verse in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam that I thought of when I read that. It's Yanatas Atastayana Rajan Na Pramat Madyeta Karhichit Davan Yavanitra Nas Skalina Patit Iha. This is Srimad Bhagavatam 11.235. Translation: O King, one who accepts this process of devotional service as the Supreme Personality of Godhead will never blunder on this path in this world. Even while running with both eyes closed, he will never trip or fall. So even though somebody
You know, even while running with both eyes closed, you will never trip or fall. You will ensure success once you start the process of bhakti yoga, because Krishna maintains his devotees and he maintains a path of auspiciousness. And it's mentioned in this purport that I just read, when Krishna says you would never, a devotee would never trip or fall even running with both eyes closed. What this means is that the sastras comprise of two, the smritis and the shrutis, right? And a brahmana who only has knowledge of the smriti and not the shrutis, he's considered half blind. A brahmana should have perfect knowledge of both the smritis and the shrutis. However, even if a brahmana is lacking in one of them or even both of them, Krishna will give the requisite knowledge for him to come to him. So even running with both eyes closed, even while not completely understanding the imports of Sastra, by following the path of auspiciousness, Krishna wills Tesham Satata Yogda Nam Bhadam Priti Porvagam Adami Budi Yogam Tamina Mamupayanti Te. Krishna will give you the requisite intelligence for you to come to him. Because this is his great mercy upon the conditioned souls, that he gives us the intelligence. Actually, we're in this material world because our intelligence is constantly polluted by material desires. It's mentioned how there's two witches that haunt the conditioned soul. You have the witch of material desires, then you have the witch of trying to be liberated liberated from the material world and merge into the Supreme Lord. These two witches constantly haunt the conditioned soul as he's progressing on the path of a perfection. These two witches of Maya, the desire to enjoy matter completely inhibits our devotional service. It completely blocks this Bhakti Lata Beach. Even a small desire to enjoy material world, we will not attain perfection, even the small desire. But this is the trick. This is the trick. So it's interesting how if you don't have the proper knowledge of Krishna, you can still attain him. But if you have a small desire to enjoy material gratification, you can't desire him. So this is a trick. The trick is to purely desire to serve Krishna. This constitutes pure devotional service, is the pure desire to serve Krishna. And when you have that pure desire to serve Krishna, even if you don't fully understand the imports of the sastras from the smritis and the shrutis, he will give you the requisite intelligence. But you have to purify your desires. This is the point. Because Krishna desires to protect his devotees, he desires to maintain the devotees. And the way we can reciprocate with Krishna is by desiring to purely serve him. Even if we're not pure ourselves, if we're practicing pure Krishna consciousness, we can still attain the mercy, even if we're not pure ourselves. So devotee is always assured of success. But it's interesting, how is it that devotees are assured success, but so many fall down? This is a great inquiry. Why is it that Krishna guarantees success for devotees, but devotees still fall down? Prabhupada makes a point in the Chaitanya that mental concoction is the cause of fall down. When I read that, that blew my mind. If you really think about that, mental concoction, mental speculation is the cause of fall down. So we're in a society of devotees. We're like, why am I not attaining the bliss of Krishna consciousness? Why am I not happy? You start getting all these mental concoctions about, I could be happy in this way. I could be happy in this way. I could be happy in this way. This is a cause of fall down, is this mental concoction. So actually the process of Krishna consciousness is easily. We don't have to think necessarily, we don't have to concoct new ways to serve Krishna. Everything's already there for us. The minute we start concocting new ways to serve Krishna, then we become prone to this material aggrandizement, become prone to this bodily condition of life, and we become attached to our own thoughts and less attached to serving Krishna. So mental concoction is the cause of all fall down. This is why so many devotees have fallen, because they weren't ever able to steady the mind. And it's not that, this is a very important point actually, it's not that we don't use intelligence to serve the guru. Although there's a fine line between mental concoctions and using intelligence to serve the guru. Actually, the guru will give you an instruction, And it is your duty actually to meditate upon that instruction and intelligently apply it. That's not mental concoction, right? Mental concoction is when you start concocting things that are out of line with sadhu guru shastra. But when the guru gives you instruction, actually, you should intelligently try to think about it, intelligently try to apply that instruction. For example, let me think of one good example of that. But we can think of even like Mahotsa Prabhu, for example. Prabhupada said, distribute books. Guru Maharaj said distribute books, right? But as far as Bhakti Sag Saptarishi said, that they did not necessarily say this is distribute books by making a set with this amount of books and this and this. No, that was an intelligent, application of the instruction. And it was very pleasing when these Saptarishis started getting distributed. Our guru was very pleased by it. Okay, let me rephrase. So he wanted sets of his book distributed, but as far as like the application of like the Saptarishi said itself, that's the point I'm making. The Saptarishi never said distribute 7 sets of books and wrap it like this. It needs to be this book, this book, this book. That's the point. He said 7 Sapta book. He didn't say it's a Sapta though, exactly though. I've never read Prabhupada saying that if you want to distribute my books, you need to do it like in the Sapta Rishi said. I never heard that.
Yeah, exactly. But he gave guidelines like these specific books should be distributed.
Right. The point I'm making is that the guru will give you an instruction, but then it's up to us to intelligently apply it. So Prabhupada gave his instruction to distribute books. He did say he wants sets, but he never said, I want to stop the Rishi said, I want you to bow it up, tie it up in a bow, and distribute it on the street. Like that is an intelligent application of the principle. That's the point I'm making. Right. It's intelligent. Even the Bhakti said, yes. I'm not saying that Prabhupada didn't say, let me rephrase that we shouldn't give sets, but an intelligent application of that is, okay, now we have this Bhakti set. Now we have the Sapta Rishi set. Now we have the, what's it called? The Pancha, what's it called? The Pancha Tattva set, right? We have all these different sets because that was an intelligent application. So the point I'm making is that you shouldn't mentally concoct, but you should intelligently apply the instructions. It's a fine line, and it takes some proper guidance. But yeah, I remember listening to a lecture by His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj about this. How you should, like I said, you should meditate on the instructions of the guru and try to intelligently apply it in your life. And it's very interesting because in this translation, let me see. Yeah, like I said, devotee is assured success. And it's very interesting because in this translation, the 4 Kumaras are saying that your potency is not reduced by your submissive behavior. So Krishna, I'm not gonna go through the whole pastime, but Krishna pretty much he's being very humble to the 4 Kumaras. He's saying he'll lop off his own arm to satisfy his devotees. He's saying how the Brahmanas, he has so much respect for the Brahmanas. He's portraying so much humility. And his portrayal of humility was actually very bewildering for the 4 Kumaras because Krishna is the greatest of the great. He's the greatest personality. He's the greatest personality, yet he's showing so much humility. And the 4 Kumaras are saying that him being humble, his potency is not reduced by this submissive behavior. It's not that when we become humble, then we lose our potency. Just like people think, like in karma society, you shouldn't let anybody walk all over you. Even my dad told me that. Don't ever let people walk all over you in karma society, because when people walk all over you in karma society, then you just become like some useless guy, pretty much. Actually, it's a dog-eat-dog world. You can't even make advancement in karma society without pushing somebody else over. But in devotee society, it's not like that, actually. Actually, devotee society is Shinada peace and Ichina. You actually have, what does it actually mean to be lower than a blade of grass? A blade of grass is trampled upon, right? So when the devotee comes to you and says, hey, Prabhu, can you do this service? And you're like, why me? Go talk to somebody else about doing this service. Yeah, I also struggle with this because it's like this natural instinct of like, okay, is he trying to like take advantage of me? He's trying to walk all over me? It's like a natural defense, actually. It's natural defense, like, why is he trying to walk all over me? Why are you trying to exploit me? Actually, a devotee should want to be exploited in the sense of a devotee should put himself out there to do service. You're chanting Hare Krishna, you're asking for service. You should actually put yourself out there. But what happened back in the day, devotees were exploiting devotees for their own personal aggrandizement, and that's when it became kind of a slippery slope. But however, if you see a devotee who's purely practicing and he's actually doing service for a higher cause, then yes, that's for your benefit. But if somebody is using you for a malicious cause, then yes, you're being exploited, and that's where you get to distinguish. But if somebody is purely practicing and they're purely following Sadhu Guru Shastra, and they actually do some service for them, you should actually fully extend yourself to that, right? Atmanivedanam. You see, Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj, he knew that Vamanadev, because his guru told him, Sikaracharya told him, hey, he's going to take everything away from you, right? And actually, Bali Maharaj is a representation of this Atmanivedanam, right? He allowed himself, he even said after Vamanadev took his 2 steps, he said, you can put your 3rd step on my head. He offered his whole self to him. To the Lord. And this is the mood we should imbibe. We should imbibe the mood of being completely an instrument for the devotees. See, karmics see it as they're just exploiting you, Prabhu. They're exploiting you. They're doing this, that. No, they're not exploiting us. We're being used as instruments. They're like, oh, you're going on the streets, you're doing books, you're not getting any money. You're just being exploited. No, not necessarily. We're being instruments, but for a material conditioned mind, like I said, it's mental concoction. You see, somebody is being used by the Lord. They must be getting exploited because, the boys might just try to get some money from him or this or that. It's mental concoction. They don't understand the will of the Lord. They don't understand the will of the Lord. So we see how the mind is giving us so much trouble. The mind prevents us from wanting to fully surrender to the devotees. The mind is always making excuses why we shouldn't surrender. Oh no, don't surrender like this because this devotee has this anartha. Don't just surrender like this because that devotee said something mean to you in the past. The mind is always, that's why my mind, I'm so jiva loke, jiva pudasnatana manasastan indriyani pakrisani karsati. That the mind is why are we struggling in this material world? Because of the mind. Because of the mind we're struggling. Ultimately. But like as I said in this purport, that the living entities are his parts and parcels. Originally, they belong to the same quality of eternal form as the Lord. But when they come in contact with my material potency, they lose their existential condition becomes covered. So we actually had somebody come in here, I forget, Ryan, and I was explaining this to him, how actually the living entity. So I was explaining the spiritual world to him because he was talking about merging and all this other stuff. I was trying to explain to him actually the highest bliss is in relationships. And if you look at the Goloka chart, you see the dimensions of the material world and the spiritual world. So from my studies, this is my understanding of it. Now you have the spiritual world, and you have the rays from the spiritual world. The Brahma Jyoti is actually pervading everything, and the material creation is actually sitting in that, but it's covered over in the Mahatattva covers. It's covered over, and it's actually covered and mentioned in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I can reference it if you guys want to see that, but it says how the living entities, they're actually seated within the spiritual potency, but they're covered over by the Mahatattva, right? So because we're covered over the Mahatattva, we lose the bliss of this. We get covered over, but the material is actually in the Brahma Jyoti. It's just covered. It's covered over, right? It's just, if you think about that, if you look at the covering that we have to go through, we have to go through so many enemies. So many enemies we have to go through. Think about it. How many coverings? If you read the Bhagavatam, if you read the different coverings of the material universe, you get the Mahatattva, and then you have like the false ego, the intelligence is the mind. You have earth, water, matter. We're covered by so many different things. And this is why we lose contact with the original spiritual nature, because all these enemies are covering us. And then we have the external enemies, and then we have the internal enemies, the Kam, Lob, Moha, Matsarya. We have these, so we're constantly faced by enemies, external and internal. But actually, our external enemies, Krishna takes care of our external enemies. We don't have to worry about external enemies. There's that pastime with Srila Prabhupada in Juhu Temple. We had that Mr. Nair, Mr. N. And he was completely demonic. He was completely envious of the devotees. He did everything possible to not give that deed over to the devotees. And what did Krishna do? Krishna completely just finished him off. He killed him, and the deed got over to the devotees. They were able to build that temple. So what enemies do we like? External enemies. Krishna takes care of external enemies. Our main enemies are eternal enemies. Our main enemies are our eternal enemies of Kama, Krodh, Lobha, Maha, Matsuri. These are the enemies we need to be always cognizant of. Krishna actually says this in the Bhagavad Gita. He gives us where these enemies are lying. They're lying in our mind, intelligence, and our false ego. These are where our enemies are lying. These are the enemies. Krishna is saying it clearly in the Bhagavad Gita. Well, these external enemies, what is it? What is it? You have Hiranyakashipu, the biggest enemy of the demigods. Krishna finished them off like nothing, just ripped them to pieces. You know, Hiranyaksha, enemy of the demigods, a slap, he finished them off. So what enemies do the devotees have, right? External enemies, Krishna will finish them off. That's not a problem. But we need to always be cognizant of these internal enemies that we're constantly battling. As I said, Prabhupada writes in the first canto in the purport that we need to understand the need of the spirit soul. What is the need of the spirit soul? The spirit soul, the need of the spirit soul, he wants to break through the coverings of this universe, and he wants to experience the full light of the spiritual world. This is the need of the soul. The soul doesn't want to be covered by this Matattva, doesn't want to be covered by this false ego, doesn't want to be covered by all these things. But because of the mind, we identify with these things, and because of that, we become conditioned. And then in the past time in the Vanti Brahmana, is mentioned how the Vanti Brahmana, he makes a point like, who enjoys the material world, right? Does the body enjoy the material world? And he makes a point of how can the body enjoy the material world? The body is composed of dead elements. How can something dead enjoy the material world? Then he says, is it the spirit soul that enjoys the material world? Well, how can the spirit soul enjoy matter? By nature, the spirit soul can't enjoy matter by nature, right? So who enjoys? Is it the family members that enjoy? Who enjoys material world? So you say it's not the spirit soul, it's not the body. Who ultimately enjoys the material world? The Vani Brahmana comes to the conclusion, it's the false ego, right? The false ego is ultimately enjoy the material world. Because you can only actually enjoy the material world through the agency of the false ego. The false ego is a very subtle element, and the spirit soul, the way it enjoys material world is by falsely identifying with the material world. By false identifying material world, the false ego kicks in, and that's how it enjoys. But it's actually the false ego enjoys. You don't enjoy. You as spirit soul, you don't get any pleasure from this. It's only the false ego. It's all in the mind. And as I said, we're situated actually in this Brahma Jyoti, but we're covered over. But you gotta understand, even the bliss and Krishna consciousness, we've all probably had some days where we were chanting, we just fully experienced the nectar of Krishna consciousness. And it's like, how is this possible? Like, although I'm situated in this body, we can still become Jivan Mukta. We can, even while presently situated in this body, we become Jivan Mukta, right? And that's why this desire that I mentioned earlier, this witch, we have two witches that constantly haunt the conditioned soul, the desire to enjoy matter, and then you have the desire to be like liberation, right? But even that, the reason why that liberation, that is still material desire, because you only want to be liberated because I'm suffering, I want to be here. I want to go somewhere I don't have to suffer. That is, I mean, preliminary speaking, that's okay for Krishna consciousness, but higher up, you need to come to the point when I don't want to go to Krishna just because I'm suffering. I want to go to Krishna because I want to please him. That is the proper understanding. I don't want to go to the spiritual world just because I'm suffering. I want to go there because I want to give pleasure to the Lord. Because actually, wherever we are, whether we're in hell, we're in the heavenly planets, we can be situated. We can have the consciousness of Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada was always in Vrindavan consciousness, even though we can, his Vapu, we see his form, so-called material form, but actually Srila Prabhupada was always in the spiritual. He's always had Vrindavan consciousness. So he's an example of, even though you're in the material world, you can still experience the bliss of the spiritual world. But because we identify with the false ego, we become conditioned, as this purport is saying. The conditioned soul, they lose, due to the forgetfulness of their excess condition, they become covered over, as it's saying right here. So we should understand our position. We should understand how dangerous every step. Actually, I remember reading one place in, I don't remember where, but Prabhupada said this material world is a place of living entities eating other living entities. This is a place of one living entity is eating another living entity, right? You have the animals eating other animals, right? You have animals eating the plants, the humans eating the plants, and then even the humans, the parasites are eating the humans. So it's just a world of if eating, it's constantly, it's like parasitic. Every living entity subsides on another living entity to live. That's the world is designed as such that every living entity is actually designed to live off of other living entities. So this is the world we live in. It's disgusting, but the spiritual world is not like that. The spiritual world is not like that. It's every step is a dance, and every song, every voice is a song. So the four Kumaras, the change switch gears a little bit. The four Kumaras say that Lord Krishna never reduced his position by becoming cow or boy or by offering respect to Sudama Brahmana. So it's some misconception the Hajas think that, oh, I can only worship Krishna, Leela, and Vrindavan, and Krishna, playing with the gopis. This is the highest thing. But the Sahajas don't have the spiritual intelligence to see that Krishna playing in Vrindavan and Krishna killing demons, they're both full of bliss. They don't have the intelligence to realize that both pastimes are full of bliss. It's not that one pastime of Krishna where he's like bathing Sudama Brahmana's feet and where he's dancing with the gopis. One is better than the other because Krishna, all his pastimes on the transcendental platform. As Prabhupada is saying right here, it's not that Krishna is reducing his position by becoming a coward boy or by offering respect to the Sudama Brahmana. And it's actually Sudama Brahmana. It's very interesting that pastime. Like that pastime is like it really gives us faith and hope that like if we just stick to the path of Krishna consciousness, Krishna will take care of all our needs. He maintains us. Krishna will maintain us even if we don't necessarily desire for it. He'll just do it out of his cause's love for us, right? And His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj makes the point that one verse in Bhagavad Gita exemplifies Sudama Brahmana's attitude in life. It was na parishit priyam prapyad, no jit prapyad chapriyam, stira buddha samudo, brahmavit brahmani sitaha. That this is Bhagavad Gita 520. Bhakti Swami Maharaj, he quoted this verse in relation to Sudama Brahmana. He quoted this in Vyasa Puja. Let me see if I can pull this up. 5. Okay, so it says, a person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant. Okay, I'll read that again because I just messed it up. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon attaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, he knows the science of God is already situated in transcendence. So Sudama Brahmana was like this. He didn't, whatever came to him, he would take, right? He didn't lament that he was poor. And even when Krishna manifested all his opulences to him, he was steady. It didn't affect him. He didn't become materially conditioned by it, right? And this is why Krishna, people worship Lord Shiva because he gives his devotees benedictions. But Vishnu, you see, he actually makes his devotees desolate. He actually takes opulences away from his devotees. But it's also mentioned that Krishna will give you opulences if you can handle it. The thing is, Krishna is, as is mentioned in this verse today, he's maintainer of his devotees. And being a maintainer of his devotees, he knows exactly what to give them to facilitate the Krishna consciousness. He knows exactly when to take some opulence away from the devotee because he understands his devotees becoming too attracted by it. And he knows exactly when to give his devotees some opulence because he realized he can use his opulences in the service of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada was the most opulent person. If you really look at it, materially speaking, Prabhupada said, I have cars in every part of the world. I have nice vehicles. I have temples all around the world. Any place I want to go, I have planes I go. I have first class prasadam. Materially speaking, Prabhupada was very opulent. And Krishna gave him all these opulences because Prabhupada was not attached by it. Prabhupada could stay in a luxury apartment in Bombay, and simultaneously he could stay in a mud hut in Bhubaneswar. And Prabhupada actually said he liked this when he was in his mud hut in Bhubaneswar. Prabhupada said, I really like this type of living. It's very simple. I really like this. I really like this type of living. even though he had all opulences. So this is the position we need to come to. We need to come to a position where whether we're getting giving opulence or giving opulence taken away, we don't lament, we don't rejoice. We're steady. We have steer booty. We have steady intelligence, and by having steady intelligence, Brahma Vid Rabani Sitaha, we become translated, situated, and transcended when our intelligence becomes steady. That is how when we can become fully situated and transcended when our intelligence becomes steady. And our intelligence becomes steady when we only desire one point of intention to serve the Lord. But as long as our desires are many branch, then yes, we become afflicted by our false ego. But we become have this one point of attention to serve the Lord. That is the way. That is spiritual intelligence. That is when we have the whole one focus to please my guru. That is the only thing I care about. That's my life and soul is to please my guru. So a couple other things that's in this purport. Vinodaha. It says in the word for word, vinodaha, pleasure. As we know, you have the bhakti vinod and you have bhakti siddhanta. You know, you need a siddhanta to get the vinod. You want to get the vinod without the siddhanta. Right? But as I was saying, devotees get pleasure in the service itself. It's not that, okay, I'm gonna work all hard all day and I'm gonna sit down. But actually, the endeavor itself also generates pleasure. The endeavor in itself to please Krishna, it's all on the absolute platform. Like the idea is it's on the absolute platform from the beginning to end. The idea to serve Krishna, the activity of actually serving Krishna, and the result of serving Krishna is all blissful because they're all on the absolute platform. But then, like I said, we have these different bejas. We have these different seeds that's lying dormant in our heart, right? And what happens is the Bhaktilata beach, it becomes choked up by these other desires, right? And we might think we're practicing Bhakti Yoga. We might think we're watering the Bhaktilata beach, but we're actually watering this karma beach, this Jnana beach, all these different beaches. Because we don't, why? When we desire anything outside of serving Krishna, by default, we start watering these other beaches. Actually, Prabhupada makes the point that if we're not watering the Bhaktilata beach, by default, we're always watering this karma beach and Jnana beach. It's by default. It's by default, the living entity, you know, these beaches are already present with us. We have these different seasons. Beaches mean seed. You have these different desires in our heart already. So we're not very cautious to uproot these other desires. We might think we're practicing Krishna consciousness. We might think we're watering the Bhaktilata beach. We're actually simultaneously, we might be watering it, but because we're not pure in our desires, we start watering these other different beaches. And it starts to get choked up. And it was also made in the point that the mad elephant can completely destroy your Bhaktilata beach, right? And you can do that by offending a Vaishnava. Also, is very interesting, is by offending your guru, you can also uproot this bija. And how do you offend your guru? By not following the regular principles and by not associating with the Shravana Kirtan process, right? By associating with the Shravana Kirtan process, we're actually associating with the proper means of watering the Bhaktilata beach. So when we try to have this mood of separatism, that's mentioned in third canto, how you have different devotees, a separatist devotee, they think they can practice Krishna consciousness by themselves. They think they don't need any association. They spend a lot of time by themselves, just dealing with their mind. By doing so, you're watering the wrong beaches. By doing so, gradually you start becoming offensive, actually. And it's actually, Prabhupada makes the point actually that even if you're in the society of devotees and you see some devotees are not acting properly, still you should maintain proper dealings with devotees. It's not that, okay, these devotees are acting funny, let me just be by myself. This is rascaldom. It's actually better for you to be in the society of devotees. And Prabhupada actually makes the point that if you feel like even still you can't associate with devotees and associate with your spiritual master, right? Associate and take guidance from him. You know, or find a society of devotees who are purely practicing. Because if you start becoming offensive to Vaishnavas, what's your destination? Like, what destination do you have? It's hellish, actually. Once you become offensive to Vaishnavas, you're finished. It's done. You actually, it's better you just become a karmi, actually, to become offensive to Vaishnavas. The thing about when you become a karmi, you're not actually so offensive. If you're a karmi, you're not offensive to devotees. There's still some chance of you coming to in contact with devotees and taking the process up. But once you become offensive to devotees, it's no chance of elevation. You're finished. I remember reading that somewhere. It's actually better for you to be a karmi than to become offensive to devotees. I gotta find it, but I remember reading that. So, my last point I'm gonna make that another. It's a lot in this purport, but I'm just gonna the last sentence says, the force exhibited in the battle of Kurukshetra by the Desire Krishna through the ages of Arjuna was also necessary because when people come to it, religious force is required. Non-violence replaces wrath. So you see this like non-violence, like, oh yes, non-violence. I love you, you love me. We don't need a fight. This is Prabhupada saying this is rascaldom. There's actually situations where you have to actually employ violence to maintain society. Like it's not a mystical concoction that, oh no, we should be nonviolent. We shouldn't, if somebody attacks us, we should just accept it. If somebody slaps from the cheek, give them the other cheek. This is like probably this is rascaldom. This is rascaldom. Because if somebody's coming to harm a devotee and you don't say anything, that's an offense. You haven't protected this devotee. You haven't properly understood the imports of Sastra. You haven't properly understood the position of the devotee. So it's rascaldom to not stand up for devotees. It's rascaldom to allow devotees to become blaspheming. To hear the blaspheming devotees, that's rascaldom, and not employ transcendental anger to stop it. Prabhupada says that if you hear somebody blaspheming a devotee, there's three things you can do. You got to cut off their tongue, right? But that's also metaphorical. It doesn't mean to actually get a knife. Because also, yeah, give me that tongue, boy. Like it also cutting out the tongue can also just mean like destroying the arguments, right? It mean like destroying the arguments, or you should walk away, or should kill themselves. These are some heavy statements. Think about it for a second. These are heavy. If you hear somebody being blaspheming devotees, cut their tongue out, walk away, or kill themselves, or kill yourself. This is heavy. This is some heavy stuff. This isn't Sastra. So the point is that we shouldn't take blaspheming so lightly. Like we have to be intelligent enough to know when to be violent, when to not be violent. Arjuna, because of his mental concoctions, he thought that being non-violent was a solution to his problems. But this was a mental concoction. This was a mental concoction. So yes, devotees, we are violent. Not in the sense of going around just shooting people. We know the proper means of using that violence. Right? And actually it's mentioned, let me see. Yeah, so I was mentioning about the beaches, the Bhagavad beach is mentioned in Chaitanya Amrita that there's different creepers that grows with the Bhakti creeper, and it's mentioned how it's these different, and I say creepers are diplomatic behavior, animal killing, mundane profiteering, mundane adoration, and mundane importance. All these are unwanted creepers, right? And it's mentioned how Jiva Himsa is translated as unnecessary killing of animals, Jiva Himsa, but then Prabhupada makes the point also that Jiva Himsa could also mean that you're not engaged in preaching when it's necessary. When you have the opportunity to preach, but you decide not to, Prabhupada makes the point this can be considered violence, Jiva Himsa, right? When you're not acting for the benefit of others, when you're not acting for the benefit of others, but rather for your own self-aggrandizement, this is considered Jiva Himsa. And this is an unnecessary creeper. Another creeper is diplomatic behavior, right? Diplomatic behavior, diplomacy. You say one thing, but then internally you have a different thought. Oh, Prabhuji, you're so wonderful, you're so glorious. I want the dust to your lotus feet. But internally, you're like, this dude is a bogus guy. This dude is like stupid. I'm smarter than him. This is diplomacy. This is diplomacy. Devotees should be simple. The opposite of diplomacy is simplicity. It's simplicity. It's being straightforward in your dealings, being straightforward, not having a sense of diplomacy. Mundane adoration, wanting mundane respect from karmis. Why do we care if karmis like us or not? You know, the guru of Bodhisattva Saraswati Thakur, or Gorkashore, Das Babaji, he didn't give a fig about who cared about him. He perfectly represented this idea of we should not care about mundane adoration. Whether karmis like us or not, Gyanis like us or not, we should just continue sticking to the path of bhakti yoga. Irrespective of whether people like us or not. Now, granted, we should act in a way that attracts people to our movement, right? Like just like Prabhupada said, you know, they asked Swamiji, you know, you talk about renunciation, but you're sitting on a big seat. Why is that? Prabhupada says that, well, if I was sitting in a mud hut, nobody would come to me. He said, for me, I have no problem doing that. But for you, you know, you wouldn't be attracted to what I'm saying if I was living like that. So that's why I'm in this temple, right? But he's not doing that for his own adoration. He didn't build these temples so he can get aggrandized. He did it so to benefit others. That is the point. He did it so that he can attract others to the Christian consciousness movement. And there's different ways to attract people to Christian consciousness movement. But we shouldn't act from a mundane adoration. Even you can say, I'm going out on books and I'm gonna post my scores. I want everybody to like that I did all these books. This is mundane. I mean, in one sense, we should do a lot of books, but we shouldn't be, okay, wow. It's a very fine line. So, wow, you know, wow. I went out today. This devotee did more books than me. I didn't do so many books. He's a better devotee than me. That's mundane. That's a completely mundane ideology of book distribution that just because another devotee does more books than you does not make him a better devotee than you. Right? And it's like it's very subtle because it's easy to become attached to the fruits of your labor. You go on books, you see somebody else doing better, more books than you. Oh, I guess he's better than me. This is rascal. Because it's not you doing the books, it's Krishna's doing it. You haven't done anything, you're only an instrument. So it's very easy for this mundane adoration to creep in our activities of Krishna consciousness. So we have to be very, very careful not to let this unnecessary creeper come in and choke our Bhakti Lata beach. And it's also mentioned in this translation, it's mentioned and the word for word is mentioned Tejaha. I'm gonna wrap it up soon, but this just came to my mind. Tejaha, potency. So that the word Tejaha also comes up in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It's that Krishna, his splendor, he's the splendor of the sun. He's the splendor of the sun, and he's the moon. And this splendor is attractive to even trees. Everybody's attracted by Krishna's splendor. Even you see like a tree, it'll gradually grow towards the sunlight just to get that, because even trees, everybody's attracted to Krishna's splendor. So this Tejaha, this potency, this splendor, devotees also imbibe that. The devotees imbibe the splendor of the spiritual world. The pure devotees do. And when you come in contact with them, you also become purified. And the goal of the Krishna consciousness movement is to give this knowledge out to others and to purify others and to constantly meditate how I can bring other people up. You know, this intense feeling of regret that living entities aren't taking the Krishna consciousness. This is a symptom of advanced soul. Why aren't they taking the Krishna consciousness? You know, why are they suffering? This intense grief, this intense feeling of despondency that other people are not taken to the process. This is a symptom of advanced devotee because the splendor, they realize the splendor, the Tejaha, the spiritual world. They realize that we are not, there's no happiness in this material world. So we have to come in contact with the devotees. We have to maintain good relationships with devotees. And we have to maintain proper respect towards other Vaishnavas. A Kanishta Adhikari doesn't know how to respect other devotees. A Kanishta Adhikari, they are bound to commit offenses because they see that Kanishta Adhikari sees devotees from material perspective. They see, oh, this is a Sudra Brahmana, this is a Sudra Vaishnava, this is a Vaishya Vaishnava, this is a Brahmana Vaishnava, this is a Satriya Vaishnava. A Vaishnava is Vaishnava, they just might perform different duties. But a Kanishta Adhikari makes distinctions based on material calculations. And because of that, they commit offenses. Yes, there are distinctions in Vaishnava society, but those distinctions don't make another person better than another. So Kanishari Ikari is bound to commit offenses. Because they don't see, they materialize the devotee. They see, oh, this is a black devotee, this is a white devotee, this is a Hispanic devotee. And Kanishari Ikari, they don't recognize that the devotee are the devotees are very special living entities, right? They're not normal. Devotees are not normal living entities. But Kanishari Ikari doesn't understand that. Kanishari Ikari just sees, oh, well, I do more books than him, so I must be better than him. Or, oh, I can sing better than this devotee, so I'm a better devotee than him. Or I can cook better. This is Kanishari Ikari just mentality, right? But anyways, I'm just going on. But the point is, in this translation, that the Core Kumar said they never want auspicious path to be destroyed. Krishna maintains his devotees, he maintains the auspicious path, and he will maintain our bhakti lata bees as long as we have the pure desire to serve. So I'll stop my class here, and anybody has any corrections, comments, anything like that, I'll open it up right now.
You're saying that if one is distributing books and somebody else distributes more books than him, and if he thinks that that devotee is a better devotee because he distributes more books, that is rascal.
No. I mean Kanishari Ikari mentality, meaning that Kanishari Ikari materializes everything. Kanishari Ikari is going to materialize everything. So yes, in one sense, we should go out and do books. It's not Prabhupada encourage transcendental competition. I'm not saying we shouldn't compete. What I'm saying is that you shouldn't be like, oh, I did more. On the other side is I did more books because I did more books than this devotee. I'm a better devotee. Or on the other side, this devotee did more books than me. He must be better than me. It's not the case. The case is that whether you should do a lot. You should never do a lot of books. But the point is that you're not the doer, and you shouldn't think you're ever doing anything. Actually, so it is rational to think you're doing anything. Actually, Gumar says that. Actually, Gumar says the minute you think you're actually doing books, then you lose all potency. So the point is that we shouldn't. The point I'm making is you shouldn't have a material consciousness when you do book distribution. You should realize everything's up to the will of the Lord.
A slight correction on that is that it's not material consciousness to think that because somebody else is doing better devotional service or they're doing more books that they are better devotee. That's not asking.
No. I'm not saying. Okay, let me rephrase what I'm saying. What I'm saying is
the point is that a devotee always thinks that the other devotee are doing good. So in his consciousness, he should see like that.
Yeah.
That, okay, he's doing good books. He's getting the mercy of Krishna. He's doing really good devotional service. Is he in the humility of a Vaishnava? He does think like that. Now, if the other person starts saying that, that's wrong. If I start saying I did more books, I'm better than him. Now that's wrong. But if I do less book than someone, or my devotional service is not up to par, or somebody is doing better, then it's natural and proper for the Vaishnava to think, oh, that Vaishnava is a great Vaishnava.
Yeah,
it's not rational to think that just because when somebody is doing more, to think, just because he did that, he's a better devotee than me. No, that's proper actually. That's a proper state of consciousness. Means if we see that, that means we should understand, okay, just because I'm not like looking at that, I'm looking at that person as a Vaishnava. Okay, he's a better devotee than me. Actually, even Radharani feels that Saki is, that she's insufficient. This is a natural mood of a devotee, and the devotee just always feels like that he's insufficient in his devotional service, and the others are always better than him. That's the only way one can be a servant.
Yeah, that's true. I think I tried to make the contrast, but yeah, that's correct. It's really the devotee who's doing a lot of books. If he thinks that he's a better devotee than others, I try to do the contrapositive, but yeah, you're right. The devotee who's doing a lot of books should always maintain the mood of I'm not doing anything. But the devotee who sees other devotees doing more books, yes, you're correct. I think I tried to can't do the contrapositive, but yes, a devotee should always feel that he's lower than the low and that other devotees are better than him actually. So yes.
Even if he does more books, he just sees that, oh, this is the mercy of Krishna.
Yeah, exactly.
These Vaishnavas, look how much, even though they didn't do as many, they're still completely fixed up in devotional service, how glorious they are.
Yeah.
So one just sees, one still appreciates Krishna's mercy, but then also sees the other Vaishnavas.
I think what I was also thinking is that, when the devotee who's not doing so many books, I was mainly making the point that they shouldn't materialize Buddhism, meaning that they shouldn't feel that, okay, because I'm not doing so many books, now I guess I'm just not a great devotee. But in one sense, you should think like that. In another sense, you shouldn't feel like, okay, because I'm not doing a lot of books, something's wrong, right? Or because I'm not doing a lot of books, something's wrong. this is wrong, this is wrong. And then you start getting all this whole mental trip. It's like, okay, that's just Christians believing to do that in books that day.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the point I was hitting at. I think I kind of tipped out too much, but yes, the devotee's not doing that many books should always think the other devotees better. But just because he doesn't do well, that doesn't necessarily mean he should have material consciousness about it.
Yeah,
That's the point.
yeah,
That's the point.
I was gonna say, remember when I first started doing, I guess, like treasurer services, like, or when I was like first moving into that position, I was like, okay, I couldn't make it as a book distributor. I was like, man, like the book distributors are like so exalted, they're able to like appreciate that service. But then at the same time, it's like, and if this is a misconception, then I appreciate correction in that. It's like, but then it's like it kind of just, I realized it seemed like to devolve from like this mode of ignorance. I'm like, yeah, I couldn't make enough book distributions. And now I'm just a temple devotee. And then in that, I wasn't able to appreciate the service that I was also in.
Yeah.
And recognize the significance of what I'm supposed to be doing and how it's supposed to serve the mission also. So it seems it's on one hand, yeah, one should recognize that, yes, these devotees who are doing this service, they are exalted. All devotees are exalted. But I think, and correct me again, I'm not trying to assert anything, but it's the measure that thought is being born from. It's like if you're measuring it just on the external fruit of that activity, then that's improper. But if that I guess that measure should be on like, okay, well, this is still service, so not measuring just like by the result, by the fruit that's coming, or I guess the size of the fruit that's coming from the activity, but just recognizing, okay, well, this is devotional service still. So I guess, like I said, like this, it's a different case, like what I'm relating. But I saw that in my own consciousness, I'm like, okay, well, this, if I don't recognize and rectify that misconception that I have, then it will affect how I do my service and just make me fall deep into the more ignorance.
Yeah, it's not that
So
you're.
anyways,
It's not. Yeah, the book reviews are very glorious, but it's not that you're less of a. I mean, you should always see yourself as less, but it's not that okay. I guess I'm just so fallen because I can't do books now. I'm doing a temple devotee. And like you said, it's like you have that conscience now. You don't appreciate your service you're doing now. You don't think your service you're doing now is important, and it is important. Like whether you're a temple devotee or you're doing books, of course, book distribution is the mood of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. But if you're not able to do it, it's not that your service is not important. I think once you start feeling like, oh, my service is not important because I'm not able to do books, then yeah, that is rascal. If you're like, oh, I'm a temple devotee and my service is not important, the book distribution service is important. That's not a proper move.
The basic guiding principle that you also stated is that the easy way to tell between the spiritual and material consciousness is one hampers and hinders one's service and the other one doesn't. So that's also just like an easy practical thing. So just try to adhere to.
There's just this point, Prabhupada, of course, many times, he said so many things are important. If you read this Buddha mission, he practically everywhere he went, any devotees he met, he said, this is the most important activity. This is the most important activity. Of course, there's special emphasis on book distribution, but the mood and like the emphasis that Prabhupada is making, actually every service is important. There's emphasis on book distribution because we're a preaching movement, but every single service is very important. And one should feel that this service is important. This is my service. And actually that's Hamameti Bhav that we do want. This is my service. And we can take pride in that. No, this is my service. I'm going to do it with full gusto. Okay, the other devotees are exalted. We always see them as exalted. And we don't glorify ourselves. No, my service is better. But to me, my service is supreme. Why? Because that's my relationship with Krishna. That's my relationship with Krishna. There's no other thing. That's my loving exchange with Krishna. So for me, that's the most important thing. I don't want to do anything else outside of that. Now, if I get engaged in different activities, of course. But if one becomes absorbed in his service, and Prabhupada said that you love Krishna, that's the most important thing. So one has to see like that. It's a fine line. It's a difficult actually thing to kind of like, but it requires contemplation and work. And it's just big, like, it's a funny thing because the nature of material consciousness creeps in, and one starts to think I'm better because I'm doing a bigger service. And so then that's the fall down to an extent where you start criticizing people who are supporting that service. Like without a treasurer, how are you going to keep your book distribution going? Without a temple president, how are you going to keep your book distribution going? Without a bhakta program, how are you going to keep your book distribution going? So one becomes puffed up, one thinks I don't need anyone else, only this is the only thing we need to do. And then that's just, puffed up. It's like this, if I just do this, everything will be done by itself, and therefore I'm the best, and everybody has to worship me. No. There's a lot of Christian has paraphernalia, Christian has devotees, they play different roles. Of course, good distribution is a great level of emphasis to it, to bring other people, and without that we can't exist also. That's there's no question about that. But neither can we exist without prasadam or a manager or all of these things which are required. It's just like a war, Guru Maharaj often makes the point. The soldiers in the front lines, and they're given the most importance in that sense, that they're fighting front lines, they're fighting directly with Maya. But importance has to be given to the paramedics because they maintain those soldiers and they help them. So one has to see that's why it's important to have brahmanas that hold the society and maintain respect from the society, because when people come in, like especially you'll see this in centers that don't have much guidance, new people will come in and they just become very puffed up very quickly and they fall down very quickly because nobody's there to guide them and give them a proper understanding or make it a point, and they don't respect anyone. And it's like they think now I'm going to chant 64 rounds and I see everybody falling asleep, I won't fall asleep. So it requires a body of a group of brahmins to really make that point to the society and help them understand everything in a clear way, and also correct them. Guru Maharaj making that point. That if one doesn't do so, that he was giving the story of this lady whose nephew, his parents died or whatever, and she took care of him. She said, let him do what he wants, I just want to let him be free. And then he became a murderer. And when he was about to get hanged, he asked for that, his auntie to come forward. And then he said, bring your ear close, and he bit her ear off. And then in the other ear, he told her that it's your fault, you didn't discipline him. Guru Maharaj was making the point that there is the duty of the leaders of society to discipline and take care of those who are going astray, otherwise they become responsible also. Another point I just wanted to mention was that in Chanakya Niti, he mentioned that those who criticize the Vedic culture, Vedic scriptures, and the tradition of the Vedas, or the culture of the Vedas, they become completely bad. They become subdued or bad. They fall down. So we see that in our society. Some people are criticizing Vedic culture, Vedic scriptures. I just saw a video yesterday. Sometimes I watch these disturbing, but they were making the point about this at DG that he was one of those rascals that say that you should forgive Prabhupada. He was speaking, saying that the example that's given of the Suniti, she couldn't become a spiritual master. That was 2 billion years ago, so we can't take that seriously. And then another really powerful person was saying that, where does it say that women cannot become gurus? What Shastra does it say? Where did Prabhupada tell us to follow that women cannot become gurus? What Vidhi Shastra? Well, he didn't ask us to follow the Vidhi. It's the Pancharatra is the specific one that Prabhupada told us to follow. And specifically in there it says a woman cannot become guru. And then there's so many things they were saying that was just it was really, really give me some. I was just I couldn't believe that people like this. Destroying society.
There's a verse,
Oh, it's right here.
verse 17. So, Evam Bharvartatam Chakram Manu Bhaktayati Akayarindriyara Mogham Bhartasati. Thus, if one does not act within the cycle of sacrifice that's described in the Vedas, and they're forced to live a life of sin. And they live uselessly and in vain. So what to speak of those who recognize the Vedas and then outwardly they just decry it and don't recognize it. Recognize the authority of the Vedas. I wanted to ask
Yes,
They've evolved since billions of years ago. They've become louder.
yeah. Yeah, Prabhupada in a conversation, these conversations are really nice. one of his disciples is like falling down and he's having homosex. And Prabhupada mentions, and then they're losing like the idea of the philosophy, and then they're doing like strange things and not following the instructions of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada mentions that this is illicit sex. This is poison. If you're not following this, the leaders are not following this, then this is poison. That there is the only reason my says this society will suffer because there is illicit sex. This is poison. This is poisoning the society. They start stealing properties from ISKCON and putting it in the names. They were doing some crazy stuff. The Prabhupada was saying like that this illicit sex, this is poison.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
It was you made a point, Navani-Hoda Prabhu, about, for example, this. I thought this was interesting. You brought up mood and mission, and this made me think about the question. There was a point where there was a quote by Prabhupada. He was saying like if you don't like believe or like do you worship Krishna or do you accept Krishna as the supreme God? And it's like no, it's like blend. And like I've heard people like defend this. I think like he's just speaking metaphorically. This isn't to be taken seriously. But then there's statements like what you said. He's there in Shastra. Like if you hear somebody who offends a devotee, you should slit their tongue. It's like, oh, this is a metaphor. So anyways, it's like, where do we, there's some things that are metaphors.
I mean,
and things that are like, they're meant literally, like probably, I think it's like, I thought the point, maybe I'm recalling. That it's like, you shouldn't just take it that he was speaking metaphorically. He was very serious. So it's like,
that's what we have Sadhguru Shastra. Only Prabhupada was the one that, when it says that you should cut out somebody's tongue, Prabhupada was able to elaborate that it can also mean just defeat him by argument. So the pure devotee is able to understand the import of Shastra, and they're able to understand, okay, is to be taken literally or metaphorically. When we try to figure that out ourselves, we just end up, this is mental speculation. So, a lot of these things, it's like, how can we understand this stuff? It's in Shastra, but it's like, should we take that seriously, or should we, like, what's the way to understand it? So that's what the guru is there for. That's what the acharyas are there for, to explain these things. There's so many things in Shastra that we really just can't understand, but like so many it might seemingly be contradictions in Shastra.
I can understand everything in Shastra.
You said what?
Everything in Shastra.
You said everything in Shastra? What did you say?
Oh, nothing. It was a joke.
Oh, okay. Anyways, I'm trying to think, but like, for example, like, oh yeah, that verse in the Bhagavad Gita, like, I am in everything, but nothing's in me. Like, it's like, how do you understand this? It's like, are you saying I'm in everything, but nothing's in me? It's like plain as I open. That's from tears, like, it's a contradiction. But by Srila Prabhupada's purpose, we're able to understand what that means. So yeah, but it might be seemingly things that we can't understand, but if we don't have authorities to explain it, then yeah, it's going to just remain some metaphorical mental speculation thing.
John,
Abhi, you have anything, Abhi?
thank you.
Rishi Kumar, is this up? Is this Zoom?
That's live stream.
It's live here? Okay. Our devotees, all glories to the book distributors. All glories to
No. My service is not important. Book distribution is not important.
That's not what I said, bro. That's not what I said, bro. I can clarify that right now. I never said booze is not important. It's the most glorious sentence, bro. I never.
Daddy.
I don't know how to do that. But, okay. All right, Jai.
All right, Shima Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
I keep on doing this. Jai.